This meeting is being recorded.
That's loud. Okay, everyone. I am Paul Keller, and we are going to start this session this afternoon. I appreciate everyone joining. This will be an interactive session to a certain degree. So you're welcome to log in with your smartphone or your PC. Just simply go to this QR code. You can scan that right now. Keep that on there for a few seconds. And then it'll basically take you right to the session, and we'll begin in just a couple of seconds. This is a way to interact with a game in a webinar setting or in a live setting where I could split you up into teams or you can play as individuals. It's just a way to get everyone involved. Obviously, we're all muted, and so it's a little difficult sometimes to get that interactivity going. So this is just an easy, fun way to get everyone involved using the QR code. It's all built into the software. If anyone has any questions while I move through these slides, please send them over to us. I have John Dillon, who's head of product, asking those questions, answering those questions. So he will be happy to help with those. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Yep. And Paul, just wanted to point out that I did put in the chat window a direct link to the bravozone.us if you want to use a computer as well. So if you've got a double screens, you can actually do it on your computer as well.
Great.
Put in the chat window.
Yep, and we'll ask everyone to keep their mics on mute for now. We have quite a few people signed up for the session today. And by the way, I am recording this session, so we'll send out a link to everyone tomorrow. If you were not able to attend the entire session, I'm happy to send that over to you. You can send it along to your colleagues as well. All right, so my name is Paul Keller, and I have been with C3 SoftWorks since the beginning. We've been around for 15 years, guys, helping trainers and educators with game development, helping them create content that's engaging, that's interactive, help with assessment. These are game templates that you customize around any content. And a little bit later after we get through some of these questions, I'll take you through the Bravo Zone to show you how easy it is to use, how easy it is to create your own content using these templates. But before we get started, I just want to touch this. By the way, this webinar will take about 30 minutes. It's a very brief webinar, but I just want to take a few minutes to talk about gamification. What does it mean? Where is it at now? That kind of thing. We'll talk a little bit about confidence. This is a new product that rolled out a couple of weeks ago where, well, I won't say any more yet. We'll talk about confidence in just a little bit. And then, like I said, I'll take you through the Bravo Zone. This is the platform that C3 SoftWorks has created over these last 15 years. An easy way to create your own games using these templates. You can use these games in a classroom setting, a webinar like we're doing today, or for e-learning. If you have a learning management system or you just want to send out a game and let people play it on their own, you can do that as well. Now, to get started, again, John sent the link in the chat window. You're welcome to use that link. That'll open up another browser window, and you can interact that way. Or you can use this QR code. You can scan that real quick, and that'll allow you to interact quite easily. Just one click, and you're in. The nice thing about this software is latecomers can come in at any time and participate. So we started the session about 3 minutes ago, but it's okay. Everyone's busy. Sometimes you get people coming in late or what have you. You can join at any time. So that's the link, and I'll keep that on the screen the entire time. So I want to ask you guys a quick question. If you can go ahead and interact, anyone that's willing or can. What comes to mind when you think of gamification? Just off the top of your head. Gamification. What does it mean to you? And it says fun. Yes, of course. Kevin, good. Here we come. Training via the use of games. Engaging the audience. Engaging. Yes, fun games to help learners learn. You bet. You know, gamification, the reason why I asked this is gamification over the years has meant different things to different trainers. when I ask, do you ever use games in your training? Do you use gamification? They sometimes will think that I'm only talking about e-learning, or what have you. They're just different mindsets that go into this. And I think it's important to note that just as Matthew had mentioned, training via the use of the game, applying a game concept, whatever it is, and applying that to your task, to your training, to make it engaging, to make it fun, to make it interactive. That's what gamification is really about. Back when I started to do this line of work, gamification wasn't even a word. It was edutainment or what have you, or just games. So the gamification kind of bandied about. It means different things to different people, but we all pretty much know kind of what it's about. So about games in general, these are just my couple of my takeaways of when I talk to a trainer for the first time and they're thinking about using games or they already are. I think it's important to note that when you use games, you're using it to drive your message. It's less about the game and it's more about how can I make my content stick? How do I know they're retaining the information? How do I know they're getting it? Well, the games are going to help you do that. One way, and especially in a live setting, is it's going to uncover knowledge gaps. You're going to see in real time, where is the audience? Where's my group? Geez, I got 80% that gave me the wrong answer or whatever. That's going to allow me as a trainer in real time to work with that and explain something in more detail or go back and work on it a little bit more. So games are an excellent way for a non-threatening way to find those knowledge gaps without necessarily embarrassing anyone or anything like that. What else? I mean, it's really a matter of knowing that the games, if they're done right, if you have an objective, the essence is that they're going to retain the information in a little bit more effective manner. The studies are out there, guys, and I'm not going to bore you with all of the statistics, but it's been studied for decades now, and we know that games can help with retention. So that's really the bottom line. So yes, we're using it to motivate and engage, but we're also using games to teach, and that's really what this is about. Another question for you. You can choose all that apply here. When deciding to use a game, which factors do you feel are important? Knowing your audience, award a prize, keeping the game simple, encourage discussion. This is more of a polling question, giving me an idea of how you guys feel about certain things on gamification. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and advance the screen here. Give you guys a couple more seconds. For those of you that just joined, you're welcome to interact with my presentation. Just go to this link down below. We also chatted the link in Zoom. You just click on that link and then enter in this 4-digit code, and that'll allow you to interact. All right, let's go see where everyone's at. So 73% said know your audience. Absolutely. Why is that important? Well, if your material isn't relevant to them, if it isn't succinct, it isn't connecting the dots where they've been at, they're going to check out pretty much right away. So you've got to, just like anything else you do in training, it's got to be relevant to your class. It's got to connect with them. Award prizes? Sometimes. I usually say awarding prizes, don't get too hung up on it. Prizes it could be a matter of a coffee mug or what have you. Just something, no cost involved whatsoever. Sometimes just being on top of the leaderboard or awarding a certificate or something is enough. So prizes are kind of fun, but I see sometimes trainers get too caught up into them, and so it's not about a game again. It's more about, hey, you're connecting, you're learning. It's fun while you're doing this. So you kind of forget about all this training stuff, but at the same time, they're hopefully retaining information a little bit more effectively. Absolutely need to keep the game simple. I don't care what it is. If you're using our software or using your own or what have you, it's got to be fairly straightforward. You don't want to spend a lot of time explaining the rules. It's just it's like anything else. They'll start to check out. And encourage discussion, absolutely, 100%. Use the game, especially in a classroom setting, obviously on a webinar. Use those moments to encourage discussion. Why did you answer that? Help someone else explain the answer, whatever it is, but talking it out will help with that retention as well. So I highly encourage that.
Hey, don't.
Does somebody have a question? Again, if you guys can go ahead and mute your microphones if possible. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them over to John. He's monitoring the chat window. We've got quite a few people on the call, so I want to make sure everyone's muted. Thank you. So obviously the whole culture that we're in, it's all about games. We're in it every day. I don't need to tell you about that, guys. But again, it's one of those things that don't let the game component, don't get caught up in that too much. Just allow the game to deliver your content in a meaningful way. All right, we're going to go on to the second part of this, and that's introducing competence. This is a unique tool that rolled out a couple of weeks ago where you're going to ask the question, but you're also going to be asked to show the level of competence. How confident are you is your answer? And by doing that, you'll be awarded the points accordingly. So you're going to get a sample of this, a couple of sample questions on how this works, to not only see if they get it right, but how confident were they? Where's the class at in any one time? So before I show a question, I'm going to ask our head of product, who's kind enough to take a few minutes here, to talk a little bit about why we developed this software, how did we get here, and kind of just the overall perspective on it. His name is John Dillon. John, if you're there, go ahead and share your thoughts, if you would.
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm calling you from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, so don't feel bad for me. Confidence weighted question actually is not a new concept. It goes back as far as 1931, and there's actually a white paper, and I just completed 2 blogs to be published later this week on it. But there's actually a lot of data that show the value of weighted questions. And really, weighted questions are, as the statement says here, you're really asking what the student or the respondent believes is the correct answer, and also asking them how sure they are in their answer. One of the big advantages of weighted questions is in traditional quizzes, you have a percentage of what percent to get right or wrong. So you could actually have an audience gets 80% of the questions correct, but their confidence level in a question or overall could be 60%. So it could tell you that, well, maybe they're really not that confident in the material. So as a presenter, I take note of that. Maybe I'm going to cover that more in the future. I may be doing this as a pre-test. I may be doing this as a post review, and just see what people gained or got out of this training. So it's really more detailed. In a way, it's kind of really kind of an assessment. But you can make it a game if you want. So you're playing for points. And one comment I'm just going to make a comment on, and Paul kind of talk about, I'll show you some examples, is one of the things I've heard from some people is like, well, what's going to stop somebody from, being overconfident and just picking, betting all their coins, if you will. And I go, well, yeah, but you're going to see that in the score. So you'll still know. But what it really is going to tell you is those that got it right, how confident were they in the answer they chose? And though we're not going to demonstrate it in this session today, it really is a game changer for true-false questions. And let's face it, multiple choice questions are tough to create. True-false are very easy as long as you have a correct or incorrect statement. You're just asking the respondent to say, I agree, I disagree, yes, no, or true-false. So, Paul, I think it's best just to get right into it.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. I think John made a good point, is that although this software is template-based and it's game-based, what we're doing today is not so much a game per se. It's dialing it back a little bit, allowing that interactivity, but also peeling back to see confidence level. So that's kind of what we're doing today. But all of the games have a game component to them: leaderboards, sound. You can dial the points back if they take longer to answer. Those kinds of things we can get into later. But That's a good point, John. All right.
Yep, and this is also self-paced too.
Self-paced. That's exactly right. So we're going to go ahead with some questions, and the questions are going to be around safety, but I'm going to do a practice question first, just a trivia question. We're located in Minnesota, Twin Cities. We're actually having a wonderful blizzard right now, so if my power goes out, you'll know why if I get cut off. But we're going to go ahead with this practice question. If you've ever been to Minnesota, you know hot dish. It's quintessential Minnesota. It's everywhere in Minnesota. Anywhere else in the country, well, maybe Wisconsin, but anywhere else in the country, you eat casserole. It's for dinner. So I'm assuming some of you are hungry right now. It's lunchtime or what have you. So that's kind of why I threw that in there. It's just a preview slide. There's no question here. Now I'm going to get into the question. And what's going to happen is you're going to submit your answer. And then after you submit your answer, you're going to submit your level of confidence. You ready? All right. What is the common binding ingredient in hot dish and casserole? Is it cheese, glue, cream of mushroom soup, or baked beans? Answers can go in and then submit your level of confidence. Now, for those of you that joined and are not participating, what's happening here, I'll just show you the participant side here. So I'm going to vote my answer here and submit my answer. And then I'm going to vote my level of confidence and submit that accordingly. Okay, so I'm wagering 60 points here. That's how this works. This is normally not part of the game show or the game format or the quiz format, but this allows me in real time to show you how the interaction happens. If for those of you that are not seeing it in real time on your phones or your PC. So I'll go ahead and hide this. All right, let's see where everyone's at. Confidence level, not too bad. Most of you think you know what the answer is, 18%. So let's see where we're at here. Well, the answer, a lot of you said it's cheese. That's a right answer, but it's not the right answer. It's cream of mushroom soup. So some of you are from Minnesota, or at least dipped your toe in this crazy state at one point. So congratulations. So I can see in real time where those knowledge gaps are. Obviously, this is a knowledge gap. This is just a trivia question, but that gives you an idea of how that works. All right, let's get into, this is just a slide about cream of mushroom soup. More to know that. All right. Okay, next question, or next set of, there's 3 questions here, guys, about OSHA. Now, if you're in the safety industry, you'll know what OSHA is, you know what it does. Most of you probably have heard this acronym at some point in time. So these are all very basic questions around OSHA. So if you're like me, I don't really know much about OSHA at all. And when I first played this quiz, my confidence level is kind of shaky. You can get an idea of how this works when you're introducing new material. So the first question is, what is the greatest hazard facing a worker while working in a trench? Hazardous atmospheres, falls, cave-ins, or falling objects? Again, select your answer and then your level of confidence. Excellent. Answers are going in. I can see everyone's answers up here. If I wanted to, I could turn this into a little competition. We've got a leaderboard going on here, but I'm not going to worry about that because this is just for kind of demo purposes. I'm not really doing a full-on game or anything. See where everyone's at. The confidence level is kind of middle of the road. Yeah, I'm not surprised. You answered cave-ins. That's correct. That's the biggest hazard when working in a trench, which makes sense. All right, second to last question. Fall protection is required at how many feet? Fall protection is required at how many feet or more for general industry? 4 feet, 8 feet, 12 feet, or 15 feet? What do you think it is? Let's see where confidence is at. Pretty Makes sense. Some of you are not quite confident on this one. I didn't know what the answer is either. You said 41% said 8 feet. Believe it or not, the correct answer is 4 feet. Okay, 4 feet is required for 4 feet is required for fall protection. All right, last question. OSHA inspections are conducted without advance notes, are almost always conducted without advance notices, sometimes, never, or always. When do those OSHA inspections typically happen? Now, the thing that I want to keep in mind too, guys, is as I'm playing these, and I'm getting in real time feedback as to how you're all responding, I'm recording the results. Don't worry. I'm giving, I can record the results, I should say, so that the software automatically pulls that data. So I'll get a class report as well as individuals, how each one of you answer the question in your overall confidence. So this is a key uh, uh, aspect of the software, is that it does capture scores, captures results at the same time. All right, confidence level. Okay. And the answer,
I'd like to add, Paul, that you can click on the confidence level before or after the percentage, or it's optional. Maybe you just want to just show how people answer the question and not share the confidence. But if you're doing a live session, it's really kind of advantageous to say, oh, okay, it's very interesting. And again, I want to add something which we didn't put in this session. True false questions. Now because one of the problems with true false questions, of course, is there's a high probability of people guessing it right. Well, true false with the confidence scale, it really does change the game a little bit, because now you can ask true false questions. You can have 20 true false questions, which are easy to write out, and you can really get the confidence of it. You can find out if they're guessing or if they actually know the answer. So my first endeavor with weighted questions was true false questions using audience response pads. And I loved it. That was like 10 years ago.
Thanks, John. Yeah, absolutely. And the keypads that John is referring to, these wireless remotes, Bluetooth, radio frequency rather, they are kind of not used as much now that everyone has smartphones and can scan codes and whatnot. So that's it's the same functionality of just different technology. All right, so that's confidence. Gives you an idea how it works. It's obviously material that for most of you is unfamiliar with, as the confidence level showed. And then again, if you get the answer right, you get a little bit more points. If you answered wrong with your confidence level, you don't lose as many points. So we've got about 7 minutes here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to kind of go over the Bravo Zone. If you're not familiar with this software, there are 10 templates now that you can customize with. You can create as many different games as you want. Some of them are Hollywood-style games. Some of them we kind of created from scratch. And then again, the newest game is the confidence level. So I'm going to go ahead and end this section here. And you see, it says save reports. I'm not going to save the reports, so don't worry about that. But I am going to go back into the Bravo Zone where you can start creating your games. Now, what we're using is the confidence template. I'm going to get into that in a second. Tomorrow, we're going to send all of you an email, and on it will be a link that you can go in and create your own game. You have 15 days full access to using the software. So look for that email from our marketing department, and you'll be able to test out these. But to get started, what I would recommend doing is going into content and playing the sample games that we give you access to. These are all trivia-based games or content, and you can even copy a game and create your own version of it if you want. So it'll save you a little bit of time if you want to just get in and start adding your own questions if you'd like. So super easy to do. But to create, you just go into the top, click create, go to confidence, and click start. Go ahead and give it a title. And then how are we going to use the software? You're going to use Instructor-led, like we did today, or are we going to use self-paced? Self-paced is just that. It will create a link for you. It'll create a URL that you can send out and let anyone play on their own. Or if you use a learning management system, the software has a built-in SCORM functionality to it. You can download the game and embed it directly in your SCORM file, or I'm sorry, in your LMS. So lots of different ways to do that. But let's go to Instructor-led. By turning to Instructor-led, it automatically kicks in that QR code and that link. So you don't have to do anything else, any more setup with it. It's ready to go on the fly. Click create. And the nice thing about this software is it uses a library. Now your library, when you start out, is going to be empty. There won't be anything in it. But I have created questions from previous games, so I can go ahead and take that question that I created and then I've added to the library and drag it in to the confidence game or to a spot like that. So it saves you a ton of time when you're starting to create content. You can add questions to the library and reuse that content however you need to. But if you want to just add a question from scratch, click add to content, add your question in the box here, answer choices go in here, and that's about it. It's pretty simple to do.
Well, it's also important. I'm sorry, Paul.
Go ahead,
I was going to say you have quite a few question styles too that you can use. So multiple choices to default, but you have slides, which is basically a way to incorporate PowerPoint slides. And by the way, this presentation you saw, all the slides were made in PowerPoint and imported into Confidence, and they were used as slides. So you could have a presentation that's it's in order, just like a PowerPoint presentation, and you have a spattering of questions thrown out to your presentation. So it's like teaching a class, like you use in a PowerPoint presentation, but you can use, many of our templates, especially Tally, Dash, or Confidence, can be used as instructor-led, and you can actually do a presentation, take a PowerPoint presentation and actually do it online. But the difference is you can answer the questions. Paul, I was going to have you go back to hit cancel, and then click. Yep. Let's go ahead and edit the header up there, for the title. So one thing we just want to touch on, you have the ability as a presenter to choose what you want. So as Paul said earlier, you can change the rating. You can go from 0 to 3, 0 being no points. You can say, you know what? I don't want a scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want something that's 0, 1, 2. 2 is I'm really confident. 0, I don't really know, or I'm guessing. And 1, I think I got it right. So again, each level, 0 is no points. 1 is going to be 50 and 2 is going to be 100 points. So that is totally flexible on how you set it up. Sorry, Paul.
Oh, that's fine, John. Thank you. Again, this is a new product, guys, and I brought the head of product in to share some of his thoughts on this. So I appreciate the insight, John. So this is kind of how you get started with your content, with your questions. The rest of this, guys, is very straightforward. You have template options that you can use to give it your own colors, your own brand. There's a logo option where you can put your own insignia or logo in the upper left-hand corner. So you can brand this pretty sharp if you want, or you can just use the software out of the box. As I mentioned, we're using this, and what we played earlier was individual mode. However, I love team mode. This allows everyone to get together in teams. You can have them join teams randomly. And then you can participate just by selecting an avatar on your phone or your PC and then sign in that way. So team play is available on all of these games. We were playing in what we call all play or individual mode. You decide how you want your audience to chime in or how to log in. All I was asking was your name or initial or something like that. You could require an email and any other kinds of criteria if you'd like as they log in. And then last but not least is to lock the quiz in. You basically go to publish, but maybe you're not ready to publish the quiz. Maybe you're not ready to lock it in. You can just click practice and it'll just kind of see where you're at during the work of the game. So all of the games use this same linear this linear progression, and you can kind of skip around as much as you want in the progression, but it basically just follows a very logical step to creating your game. When you're ready, just go to content, go to my content, find that quiz that you just created, and you can play it, publish it, whatever it is you want to do. It's basically the crux of the game creation. So we're out of time. I want to just give anyone that's willing to stay on the call, if you have questions, feel free to send them to us through the chat window, and we'll be glad to answer those questions as we see them come in.
And one question we do have is, can my LMS doesn't use or accept SCORM? One thing I'm going to ask you is, what does it accept? Because we are going to look at some other options later on this year. The other thing is, the answer is you can put a link to your session. So because it's not downloadable as a self-paced, you could do a link though. And you can, within the Bravo Zone, you could require people to create a login, and it gives you a lot more control. You can say, you can only take the quiz once or, twice or whatever. So there's lots of advantages to signing in and not signing in, but you can just do a link and that will work.